I arrived at the Sterling Room for my sister Emma's 35th birthday, joining 20 family members already seated. During the toast, my mother Margaret stood with her champagne glass raised, declaring Emma the daughter she was proud of while looking directly at me. The waiter then placed the $1,980 bill in front of me. Emma smirked as everyone waited expectantly. I stood, reaching not for my wallet but for my phone, and said, "Before I pay this, let me show everyone something." The room went completely silent. 3 weeks earlier, Emma had called me about her birthday dinner plans. Her voice carried that familiar sweetness she used when she wanted something. "Dorian, I really want to do something special this year," she said. "The Sterling Room has an opening, and I've already made the reservation. Don't worry about anything. I'll handle all the details. I just want family together." I should have known better. Working as a financial analyst, pulling in $75,000 a year sounds decent until you factor in supporting my disabled father. Dad served 2 tours in Afghanistan before an IED changed everything. Now he needed medications, physical therapy, and modifications to make life manageable. But family is family. So I agreed to attend, despite the Sterling Room's reputation for eye-watering prices. The night of the dinner, I walked into the restaurant 15 minutes early. The place screamed expensive, with its crystal chandeliers, mahogany panels, and servers in crisp white jackets. Emma had reserved their private dining room, and family members were already mingling with cocktails in hand. "Dorian." Aunt Patricia hugged me warmly. "Emma says you're doing so well at work. She mentioned something about a big promotion." That was odd. I hadn't told Emma about any promotion because there wasn't one. Before I could respond, more relatives arrived, and the conversation shifted. We took our seats at the long table, Emma at the head like royalty, our mother Margaret at her right side. The ordering began immediately. Emma didn't even glance at prices as she commanded the table. "We absolutely must try the lobster tower," she announced, "and the 40-day aged ribeye is supposed to be incredible. Oh, and let's get 3 bottles of the Chateau Margaux, 2015. My stomach tightened. The lobster tower alone cost $350. The wine she selected ran $400 per bottle. I watched her add appetizers, sides, and special desserts for the table, though she positioned most near herself. Throughout dinner, our mother held court, her voice carrying across the table as she praised Emma's every accomplishment. "Emma just closed another huge real estate deal," Margaret announced, though she provided no specifics. "And did everyone see her new BMW? She paid cash, of course. Not like some people who are still driving 10-year-old Hondas." Her eyes found mine on that last comment. The relatives chuckled uncomfortably. Uncle Thomas tried to shift the conversation. "How's your father doing, Dorian?" "He's managing," I replied. "The new therapy routine is helping with his mobility. Still living off the government, I suppose." Margaret interjected. "If James had planned better instead of playing soldier, he wouldn't be a burden now." The table went quiet. My father's sacrifice for our country, reduced to poor planning. I bit my tongue, a skill I'd perfected over years of family dinners. Emma smirked at my silence, mistaking restraint for weakness. The dinner continued with Margaret regaling everyone about Emma's recent trip to Italy, her upcoming real estate seminars, her natural business acumen. Each compliment to Emma came paired with a subtle dig at me. Still renting instead of owning. Still single while Emma had her pick of suitors. Still stuck in middle management while Emma ran her own business. "Maybe someday you'll catch up to your sister," Margaret said, patting my hand condescendingly. "Though at 32, you're running out of time to make something of yourself." The relatives shifted uncomfortably. Cousin Mark tried to help by mentioning that finance was a solid field, but Margaret waved him off. "Pushing papers isn't building something," she said. "Emma creates wealth. She understands success." Finally, the dinner plates were cleared. Emma had ordered dessert for everyone, insisting on the $70 chocolate soufflé and $50 bourbon ice cream. She'd consumed most of the lobster tower herself, claiming others were too shy to take their share. Then came the moment that would change everything. The waiter approached with the leather folder containing the bill. He walked past Emma, past Margaret, past Uncle Thomas, and stopped directly in front of me. $1,980. The number stared up at me like an accusation. Emma's voice rang out clear and bright. "Oh," Dorian insisted on treating everyone tonight as his birthday gift to me. So generous of him. The trap snapped shut. 20 pairs of eyes turned to me with gratitude and expectation. Margaret immediately added her voice to the chorus. "Finally, you're stepping up like a real man should," she said. "It's about time you showed some family responsibility." Relatives began thanking me. Aunt Patricia dabbed her eyes, moved by my supposed generosity. Cousin Mark clapped me on the shoulder, joking about how nice it must be to have that finance job. Uncle Thomas raised his glass in a toast to my kindness. I sat frozen, the bill heavy in my hands. To refuse now would make me look cheap, selfish. Exactly what Margaret had been implying all night. Emma's smirk widened as she watched me squirm. She'd orchestrated this perfectly, and we both knew it. My mind raced through our history as the weight of expectation pressed down. This wasn't the first time. The pattern stretched back years, always with the same result. Emma's wedding 3 years ago flashed through my memory. She'd called me the night before the rehearsal dinner, voice trembling with fake panic. The restaurant had made an error with the payment, she claimed. Could I cover it just for now? She'd pay me back immediately. $3,200 later, I was still waiting for that repayment. Then there was our father's 60th birthday. Emma had insisted on throwing him a surprise party, promising we'd split everything down the middle. When the bill came, her credit card mysteriously declined. $890 I couldn't afford vanished from my account, while she promised to transfer me the money that weekend. That weekend never came. Christmas dinner 2 years ago followed the same script. Her accounts were supposedly frozen due to suspicious activity. $1,450 for a dinner I hadn't even wanted to attend. Each time, our mother backed her up, calling me selfish if I hesitated, reminding me that successful people don't keep score. But I had been keeping score, and the tally was destroying me. I pulled out my phone, my hands surprisingly steady. The banking app opened to show my checking account balance. $2,100. That was it. That was everything liquid I had until my next paycheck. "I have something to share with everyone," I said, my voice cutting through the chatter. Emma laughed, the sound sharp and dismissive. "Don't be dramatic, Dorian. Just use your credit card like everyone else." "I don't have credit cards anymore," I replied, meeting her eyes. "I cut them up 6 months ago, after maxing them out. $18,000 in debt from family dinners, family emergencies, family celebrations, that somehow always became my financial responsibility." The silence that followed was deafening. Uncle Thomas set down his wine glass with a soft clink. "What do you mean, Dorian?" he asked. I started listing them, my voice gaining strength with each admission. Emma's wedding rehearsal dinner, $3,200. Dad's birthday party, $890. Christmas dinner, 2019, $1,450. Memorial Day barbecue, $670. 4th of July fireworks, viewing party at the country club, $920. Emma's housewarming, $1,100. Mom's birthday dinner last year, $1,300. "Stop it," Emma hissed. "You're ruining my birthday with your victim complex." "Successful people don't keep score," Margaret added, her face flushed with anger. "This pettiness is exactly why you'll never amount to anything. Successful people also pay their own bills," I shot back, surprising myself with the edge in my voice. Emma stood abruptly, her chair scraping against the floor. "I cannot believe you're doing this. On my birthday, after everything I've done for you." "What exactly have you done for me, Emma?" I asked. "Name one time you've helped me with anything." She sputtered, searching for an answer that wouldn't come. The relatives watched this tennis match of words, heads turning between us. Some looked uncomfortable, others intrigued, and a few seemed to be reconsidering their own interactions with Emma. My phone buzzed. A text from my father lit up the screen. "Son, check your email. I knew something like this would happen. Use what I sent you." The timing was too perfect. Dad was supposed to be home in his wheelchair, unable to attend due to accessibility issues Emma hadn't considered when booking the venue. Yet somehow, he knew exactly what was happening. "Excuse me for a moment," I said, opening my email. "Oh, now he's being even more dramatic," Emma announced to the table. "This is what he does. Makes everything about him and his struggles." But I wasn't listening anymore. The email from my father contained a folder of screenshots, text messages between Emma and our mother, dated over the past month. My hands trembled as I opened the first image. The evidence was damning, and there was so much more to come. The first screenshot made my blood run cold. Emma's text to our mother from 3 weeks ago read, "Let's do the birthday dinner thing again. Dorian always falls for it." Margaret's response, "Make sure to pick somewhere expensive. He needs to learn his place in this family." Emma, "Already made reservations at the Sterling Room. I'll order big. And stick him with the bill like always. Maybe this time he'll finally understand he's not our equal." I looked up from my phone to find everyone watching me. Emma's smirk had faded, replaced by something like concern. "What are you looking at?" she demanded. Instead of answering, I handed my phone to Uncle Thomas. "Read this out loud, please." He took the phone reluctantly, adjusted his glasses, and began reading. With each word, the atmosphere in the room shifted. Aunt Patricia gasped. Cousin Mark's jaw dropped. Other relatives exchanged glances of disbelief. "There's more," I said quietly. The next screenshot was even worse. Emma had been spreading lies about me throughout the family. She'd told everyone I had inherited $200,000 from our grandmother but was too selfish to help anyone. She painted herself as the struggling entrepreneur, while portraying me as a secret millionaire hoarding wealth. "Emma," Aunt Patricia said slowly, "you told me Dorian refused to help with your mother's medical bills. You said he had all that inheritance money, but wouldn't spare a dime." "What medical bills?" I asked, genuinely confused. Patricia looked between us. "The $30,000 for Margaret's heart surgery last year?" "Mom never had heart surgery," I said, turning to Margaret. "Did you?" Margaret's face had gone from red to pale. She opened her mouth, closed it, then opened it again. No words came out. "I've been paying $500 every month for Dad's medications and therapy," I continued. "That's real medical expense. Emma hasn't contributed a cent to his care." "That's not true," Emma shouted. "I help Dad all the time." "When?" I challenged. "Name one time you've visited him in the past year. Name one therapy appointment you've driven him to. Name one prescription you've picked up." Silence. Uncle Thomas scrolled through more messages on my phone, his expression growing darker. "Emma, these messages show you planning this for weeks. You even called the restaurant to ensure the bill would be given to Dorian specifically." As if summoned by his words, the restaurant manager appeared at our table. He looked uncomfortable, wringing his hands. "I apologize for interrupting," he said, "but I overheard some of the conversation, and I feel I should clarify something. Miss, Emma did call ahead and specifically request that the bill be delivered to the gentleman at the far end of the table. She said it was a family tradition that the brother always pays for the sister's birthday. I found it unusual, but she was very insistent." Emma's face contorted with rage. "You're lying. He's paying you to say that." The manager pulled out his phone. "I actually have the recorded call, if you'd like to hear it. We record all reservation calls for quality assurance. Play it." Uncle Thomas said before Emma could object. The manager connected his phone to a small speaker and hit play. Emma's voice filled the private dining room, cheerful and conspiratorial, as she explained to the reservation staff exactly how to handle the bill. She even laughed about how her brother would be too polite to refuse in front of everyone. "Turn it off," Emma whispered. But the damage was done. Cousin Sarah, who had been quiet all evening, suddenly spoke up. "Emma, you borrowed $1,500 from me last year for a real estate emergency. You said you'd lose your license without it. Was that a lie too? And the $2,000 for the car repair?" added Cousin Michael. "You said you'd pay me back after your next commission." More voices joined in, each with their own story of loans never repaid, emergencies that seemed suspicious in retrospect, investments in Emma's business that never materialized into returns. "Stop it. All of you stop it," Emma screamed. "You don't understand what it's like. I've had to fight for everything." Fight for everything? I pulled up my banking app again, showing my transaction history. Here's every payment I've made for family expenses. $23,000 over 3 years. While you were fighting, I was hemorrhaging money I didn't have. The waiter returned, hovering nervously with the bill still in my hand. Uncle Thomas took it from me and examined it carefully. "Jesus Christ," he muttered. "Emma, you ordered $900 worth of food and wine just for yourself. The lobster tower, the special wine selection, the exclusive desserts. I ordered for the table," Emma protested. "Which you then ate yourself," Aunt Patricia observed. "We all saw it, Emma. You positioned everything near yourself and acted offended when anyone reached for it." My phone buzzed again. Another text from Dad. Check the voice recordings folder. My father, the man they all thought was helpless, had been documenting everything. "How did you get those text messages?" Emma demanded, her voice shrill with panic. "You hacked my phone. That's illegal. I'll sue you for invasion of privacy." "I didn't hack anything," I said calmly. "Dad sent them to me." The room erupted in confusion. Everyone knew my father's condition. The IED in Afghanistan had left him with limited mobility and chronic pain. The idea that he was secretly collecting evidence seemed impossible. After Mom kept forgetting her passwords, I explained. Dad installed a recovery app on her phone to help her. It automatically backs up all her data to a cloud server. He's been monitoring it for 2 years. Margaret shot up from her chair. "James has been spying on me? That pathetic, broken man has been reading my private messages?" The venom in her voice when she said broken man caused several relatives to recoil. This was a veteran she was talking about, her own husband who had sacrificed his body for our country. "He wasn't spying," I corrected. "He was documenting." "There's a difference. He watched you and Emma conspire against me for years, but was too heartbroken to intervene directly. He kept hoping you'd change, that the family could heal. But you just got worse." I opened the voice recordings folder. There were dozens of files, all dated and labeled. I selected one from 2 years ago, right after our grandmother's funeral. "Wait," Emma said, panic rising in her voice. "You can't just play private conversations. Like you couldn't just stick me with bills?" I hit play. Emma's voice filled the room, crystal clear despite being 2 years old. "Mom, I convinced Grandma to change her will last month. Dorian thinks he's getting half, but he's getting nothing. We can use that money to invest in my real estate business." Margaret's laugh came next, cold and calculating. He was always too soft. Real men take what they want. Your father never understood that either. That's why he ended up broken and useless. The recording continued. They discussed how to keep me from questioning the will, how to make me feel guilty for even asking about inheritance, how to use my love for family against me. "You stole from your own brother?" Uncle Thomas stood, his voice shaking with rage. "You forged your grandmother's will?" "We didn't forge anything," Emma protested. "We just influenced her decision." "Influenced?" I pulled up another recording. This one had Emma on the phone with someone. discussing how to find a lawyer who would overlook certain discrepancies in documentation. She literally used the words, "Make it legal enough that no one questions it." Aunt Patricia was crying now. "Emma, how could you? Your grandmother loved both of you equally. She would never have cut Dorian out completely." "You don't know what you're talking about," Emma shouted. Grandma understood that Dorian was weak, just like his father. She wanted the money to go to someone who could actually do something with it. "Is that what you tell yourself?" I asked. "Because I have a recording of Grandma, too. Dad made it a week before she died. This recording was different. Grandma's voice was weak but clear. I want both my grandchildren to split everything equally. Dorian and Emma should each get half. That's what's fair. James, you're witnessing this, right? Both of them. Equal shares. Promise me you'll make sure it happens." My father's voice responded. "I promise, Mom. Equal shares for both." The room was completely silent, except for the sound of Margaret's heavy breathing. Emma had collapsed back into her chair, her face white as paper. "You knew," Uncle Thomas said to Margaret. "You knew what your mother-in-law wanted. And you helped Emma steal from your own son. Dorian never needed it." Margaret exploded. He was always James's favorite. Always the precious son who could do no wrong. Emma needed that money to build something, to become somebody. All Dorian ever did was coast through life on his father's approval. Coast through life? I laughed bitterly. I've been working since I was 16 to help support this family. I put myself through college with loans I'm still paying off. I work 60 hours a week and spend everything I have taking care of Dad, while you two live off stolen money and call me weak. Your father could work if he wanted to. Margaret spat. He chooses to sit in that wheelchair and collect pity. The gasps from around the table were audible. Even Emma looked shocked at our mother's words. "Mom," she said quietly, "Dad can't walk without assistance." The doctors said. Doctors say whatever gets them paid. Margaret interrupted. Your father gave up. Just like Dorian was giving up until we pushed him to be better. Pushed him? Uncle Thomas asked incredulously. You mean robbed him? Humiliated him? Destroyed his credit and self-worth? My phone rang. The caller ID showed Dad. I answered and put him on speaker. "Son." His voice was strong and clear, not the weak tone Margaret always described. "I'm in the parking lot. I've been listening through your phone. Bring everyone outside. There's something they need to see." We filed out of the private dining room, the unpaid bill temporarily forgotten. The other restaurant patrons stared as our large group moved through the main dining area. Emma tried to hang back, but Aunt Patricia grabbed her arm. "Oh no. You're coming too," she said firmly. In the parking lot, we found my father in his wheelchair next to a van. But he wasn't alone. A woman in a sharp business suit stood beside him, along with a younger man holding a tablet. "Everyone," my father said, his voice carrying across the parking lot. "This is Sarah Chen, Dorian's girlfriend. She's also a lawyer, specializing in estate law and fraud." I stared at Sarah in shock. I had told her not to come tonight, knowing something would go wrong. She gave me a small smile and a nod. "We need to talk about that, by the way," she whispered to me. "The whole protecting me from your family thing. Dorian didn't want to do this tonight." Sarah addressed the group, her voice professional and clear. "But given what's transpired inside, you should all know that we've been building a fraud case for the past 6 months. Emma laughed, but it sounded forced. "You can't prove anything. Grandma changed her will of her own free will. Actually," Sarah continued, "we can prove quite a bit. The lawyer who executed the new will? He doesn't exist. The bar number on the documents belongs to a retired attorney who's been dead for 3 years. The notary signature is forged. We have the real will, properly executed with legitimate witnesses, leaving equal shares to both grandchildren." "You're lying," Margaret screamed. You're all lying to protect him. The younger man with the tablet stepped forward. Ma'am, I'm Detective Morrison with the White Collar Crime Division. We've been investigating this case for 3 months. The evidence is overwhelming. Emma's legs gave out. She would have fallen if Uncle Thomas hadn't caught her. This can't be happening, she whispered. It gets worse, Sarah said. The Real Estate Commission has been investigating Emma's license for 6 months. She's been misrepresenting properties, inflating her sales numbers, and using her license to commit fraud. 3 of her supposed sales were to fictitious buyers she created to inflate her portfolio. Those were real sales. Emma protested weakly. To Laura Henderson, Michael Chang, and Roberto Silva? Sarah asked. Those people don't exist, Emma. You created fake identities, forged loan documents, and filed false paperwork with the state. Margaret turned on my father. You did this. You poisoned everyone against Emma. You always hated that she was more successful than your precious son. My father laughed. Actually laughed. It was the first time I'd heard that sound in years. Margaret, he said, Emma isn't successful. Her BMW is leased under your name because her credit is destroyed. Her Italy trip was paid for with credit cards. She opened fraudulently, using variations of family members' information. The only reason she's not already in jail is that we asked the detective to wait until we could document everything. Speaking of which, Detective Morrison interjected, pulling out his phone. I just received word from the restaurant. Miss, Emma tried to pay for decorations earlier with a credit card that's been flagged for fraud. They've been trying to verify it for the past 2 hours. That's actually what initiated tonight's official investigation. Emma's face went from pale to green. That's impossible. That card is mine. The card in the name of Patricia Williams. The detective asked. Your aunt, who reported her identity stolen 6 months ago. Aunt Patricia stepped forward. That was you? You stole my identity? Emma, I helped raise you. I babysat you when your parents worked. How could you? The complete picture was becoming clear. Emma's entire life was built on fraud, theft, and deception. The successful real estate agent persona was a facade maintained by stealing from everyone who loved her. I want a lawyer, Emma said quietly. That's your right, Detective Morrison nodded. But you should know that the restaurant is pressing charges for the fraudulent card use, which gives us probable cause to execute the warrant we've been holding. Your computers and phones will be seized tonight. Margaret turned her fury on me. You destroyed your sister, your own family. What kind of man does that? The kind who's tired of being stolen from, I replied. The kind who's watched his father be disrespected and mocked while struggling with real disabilities. The kind who's done enabling toxic behavior disguised as family loyalty. Toxic? Margaret screamed. I'm your mother. I gave you life, and then you spent 32 years trying to destroy it. I shot back. Every achievement I had was minimized. Every struggle was mocked. Every sacrifice was expected and unappreciated. You pitted your children against each other and called it motivation. My father rolled his wheelchair forward. Margaret, I'm filing for divorce. The papers will be served tomorrow. 35 years of watching you poison one child against the other, and I stayed silent because I thought my disability meant I couldn't provide for Dorian alone. But I was wrong. My silence made me complicit. You can't divorce me, Margaret shrieked. You're nothing without me. A broken soldier who can't even stand up. My father pushed a button on his wheelchair armrest and slowly, carefully, stood up. He was shaky, needed the chair for support, but he was standing. The physical therapy I'd been paying for had been working better than anyone knew. I can stand, Margaret, he said quietly. I've been able to for 6 months. I just chose to let you believe otherwise, to see how you'd treat me when you thought I was helpless. You showed me exactly who you are. The silence that followed was deafening. Even the traffic from the nearby highway seemed to pause. Emma was crying now, but they weren't tears of remorse. They were tears of someone watching their carefully constructed house of cards collapse. "There's more," Detective Morrison said, almost apologetically. "We found evidence of tax evasion, insurance fraud, and identity theft affecting at least 12 family members and 6 non-relatives. This is going to be a federal case." The parking lot erupted into chaos. Family members were shouting questions, demanding to know if they were victims. Emma tried to run to her BMW, but Detective Morrison stopped her. "Ma'am, you're not under arrest yet, but I wouldn't recommend leaving. It will only make things worse." She spun around to face me, her face twisted with rage. "You ruined everything. I had a life. I had a future. You destroyed it all because you couldn't handle being second best." "Second best?" I asked incredulously. "Emma, you're living in a fantasy. Your entire life is built on lies and theft. That's not success. It's a con game." "At least I tried to be something," she screamed. "You just accepted being ordinary. Working your boring job, taking care of Dad, never reaching for more. Taking care of family isn't settling for ordinary," Aunt Patricia interjected. "It's being extraordinary in ways that actually matter." Sarah stepped forward with a folder. "Emma, this is a cease and desist order. You're to have no contact with Dorian, James, or any family member who requests protection. You're also banned from using any variation of their personal information for any purpose." Emma laughed bitterly. "You think a piece of paper will fix this? You think you've won? Mom and I know things about all of you. Secrets you wouldn't want exposed." "Like what?" Uncle Thomas challenged. "That I had an affair 15 years ago? My wife knows. We went to counseling. We worked through it. That's what real people do, Emma. They face their mistakes and grow from them." Other family members began speaking up, admitting their own imperfect moments, their struggles, their failures. Each confession was met with support and understanding, the exact opposite of how Margaret and Emma had weaponized information. Margaret, who had been uncharacteristically quiet, suddenly spoke. "You'll all regret this. When you need help, when you need someone to organize family events, to keep everyone connected, you'll come crawling back." "No, Margaret," Cousin Mark said firmly. "We'll organize our own events, without manipulation, without bills being secretly assigned, without judgment and cruelty, disguised as family bonding." The restaurant manager appeared in the parking lot, looking deeply uncomfortable. "I'm sorry to interrupt, but there's still the matter of the bill. It needs to be settled before anyone can leave." "I'll pay my portion," Uncle Thomas said, pulling out his wallet. $40, right? If we split it fairly, I'll pay mine too," Aunt Patricia added. One by one, family members offered to pay their fair share. Within minutes, everyone had contributed. Except Emma and Margaret. The manager tallied it up. "That covers everything except for the special orders," he said, consulting his tablet. "The Lobster Tower. 3 bottles of Chateau Margaux, the exclusive desserts. Those items total $1,100. All eyes turned to Emma. "I don't have it," she admitted quietly. "My accounts are frozen because of the investigation." Margaret pulled out her credit card, but the manager shook his head. "I'm sorry, ma'am, but this card was declined earlier when you tried to pay for your drinks at the bar." The irony was perfect. The 2 people who had orchestrated this expensive humiliation couldn't afford to pay for their own excess. "I'll cover it," I said, surprising everyone, including myself. "Dorian." "No," Sarah protested. "After everything they've done? I'm not doing it for them," I explained, pulling out my emergency credit card, the one I'd kept hidden. "I'm doing it to close this chapter cleanly. Consider it the price of my freedom." I paid the remaining balance. Emma couldn't even look at me. Margaret muttered something about ungrateful children. But no one was listening anymore. Detective Morrison cleared his throat. "Miss Emma, we need you to come to the station for formal questioning. You're not under arrest, but it would be in your best interest to cooperate." Emma looked around the circle of family members, searching for support that wasn't coming. Even Margaret had stepped away from her. "Fine," she said quietly. "But I want everyone to know that I'm not the only one who's been lying. Mom has been siphoning money from Dad's disability checks for years. She has a separate account with over $40,000 in it." The final betrayal. Emma, when cornered, turned on the one person who had always protected her. Margaret's face crumbled as she realized her daughter had just thrown her under the bus. My father didn't look surprised. "I know about the account, Margaret. I've known for 2 years. My lawyer has all the documentation. It will be part of the divorce proceedings." As Emma was led away and Margaret stormed off to her car, the remaining family members stood in a circle around my father and me. The silence was different now, not tense, but contemplative. "I owe you an apology, Dorian," Aunt Patricia said. "We all do. We saw what was happening and didn't intervene. We let Margaret and Emma manipulate you because it was easier than confronting them." Others echoed her sentiments. Apologies flowed, along with admissions of willful blindness. They had all suspected something was wrong, but chose to ignore it, to keep the peace. "I don't need apologies," I said. "I just need things to be different going forward. Real relationships based on honesty and mutual respect." 6 months have passed since that night at the Sterling Room. The changes in my life have been profound, sometimes difficult, but ultimately liberating. The inheritance from my grandmother was rightfully restored to me, all $200,000 plus interest. I used it wisely. First paying off the $18,000 in credit card debt that had accumulated from years of being the family's unwilling financial provider. The relief of seeing those balances hit zero was indescribable. For the first time in years, I could breathe without feeling the weight of debt crushing my chest. But I didn't stop there. $50,000 went into a specialized care fund for my father, ensuring he'd have access to the best physical therapy and medical equipment available. Another $30,000 established emergency funds for both of us, something we'd never been able to maintain before. Emma's legal situation turned out to be even worse than initially discovered. The investigation revealed she had stolen identities from over 20 people, racking up nearly $500,000 in fraudulent charges. She accepted a plea deal that included 3 years of community service, 5 years of probation, and mandatory restitution payments. Her real estate license was permanently revoked. She now works at a retail store in the mall, experiencing for the first time the financial struggle she had inflicted on others for years. Every month, she sends me a letter. They started as angry rants, blaming me for destroying her life. Gradually, they became more introspective. The most recent one contained something I never expected. A genuine apology. "I was jealous," she wrote. "You had Dad's love and respect without even trying, while I had to perform constantly for Mom's approval. I convinced myself that taking from you was justified because you had something I could never steal. Genuine relationships. I'm in therapy now, and I'm beginning to understand how twisted my thinking became. I don't expect forgiveness. I just wanted you to know that I finally understand what I did was wrong. I haven't responded yet, but I'm considering it. Forgiveness isn't instant, but I'm no longer carrying the anger that once consumed me. That's progress." Margaret's story is more complicated. The divorce was finalized 4 months ago. She fought it viciously at first, hiring an expensive lawyer with the money she'd stolen from Dad's disability checks. But when the forensic accountant uncovered the full extent of her theft, over $120,000 over 8 years, her lawyer advised her to accept the settlement. She moved to a small apartment across town, living off her portion of the marital assets. Some family members have maintained contact with her, though relationships remain strained. She sends me letters too, but they're different from Emma's. She still insists she was trying to make me stronger, that her cruelty was tough love, that I should be grateful for the challenges she created. I don't read them anymore. Sarah does, just to make sure there's nothing legally concerning. Then she files them away. Margaret remains convinced she's the victim in all of this. Some people never change. My father, on the other hand, has transformed. Living with me now, he's thrived in an environment of genuine support and respect. The physical therapy has worked wonders. He can walk short distances with a cane, though he still uses the wheelchair for longer trips. We've modified my house to accommodate his needs, installing ramps and grab bars, creating a space where he can maintain independence while having help when needed. Our relationship has deepened beyond what I imagined possible. Evening dinners are filled with conversation about everything from my work to his military experiences to plans for the future. He's even started writing a memoir about his service and recovery, finding healing and putting his story to words. "I failed you for years," he told me one evening as we watched the sunset from the back deck. "I saw what your mother and sister were doing, and I chose silence over confrontation. I thought my disability meant I couldn't protect you, but that was an excuse. I was afraid of losing the family, even though it was already broken." "You didn't fail me, Dad," I replied. "You documented everything. You gave me the tools to free myself when I was ready. That's not failure. That's strategic patience." He smiled at that, the kind of genuine smile that had been rare for so many years. Sarah and I have grown closer through this ordeal. She stood by me when things got ugly, helped me navigate the legal complexities, and never once suggested I should have handled things differently. We're planning to move in together next month, combining our resources and lives in a way that feels like building something real and lasting. "You know what I love about you?" she said last week over dinner. "You went through hell with your family, but you didn't become bitter. You became better. You learned what not to do, and you're breaking the cycle." She's right. I've made a conscious effort to be different. When conflicts arise, I address them directly, but kindly. When money is involved, everything is transparent and fair. When someone needs help, I offer what I can afford without sacrificing my own stability. Boundaries aren't walls. They're the framework for healthy relationships. The extended family has rallied in unexpected ways. We now have monthly dinners where everyone contributes equally, both financially and emotionally. The bills are split fairly, with apps making it easy to track who owes what. There's no manipulation, no hidden agendas, just genuine connection. Uncle Thomas has become something of a mentor to me, sharing his own experiences with family dysfunction and recovery. "Every family has its poison," he told me. "The lucky ones identify it and choose to heal. The unlucky ones let it spread until it destroys everything. We were lucky, in the end. The poison was identified and removed before it could destroy us all." My career has flourished too. The executive MBA program my company sponsored has opened doors I didn't know existed. I was promoted to senior financial analyst last month, with a 40% salary increase. The stress of carrying everyone's financial burden had been affecting my work performance more than I realized. Without that weight, I've excelled in ways that surprised even me. The money is nice, but the respect is better. My colleagues see me differently now. Not because I've changed fundamentally, but because I carry myself with the confidence of someone who knows their worth and won't accept less than they deserve. I even started teaching a financial literacy course at the community center, helping others avoid the debt traps that nearly destroyed me. Many of my students are young adults from difficult family situations, trying to break cycles of financial manipulation and abuse. Their stories resonate with mine, and together we're learning that financial boundaries are a form of self-care, not selfishness. The $1,890 bill that was meant to humiliate me became the catalyst for my liberation. That moment, when I stood up in the Sterling room, choosing truth over comfortable lies, changed everything. It wasn't just about money, though financial abuse was the weapon of choice. It was about recognizing that family isn't a free pass to exploit and diminish someone. It was about understanding that love without respect is just manipulation, wearing a familiar face. Sometimes I think about alternate timelines, versions of events where I stayed silent, paid the bill, and continued the cycle. In those timelines, I'm probably deeper in debt, more isolated, still believing that sacrifice without reciprocity is what family means. I'm grateful every day that I chose differently. The most profound change has been in how I see myself. For years, I internalized their narrative that I was weak, unsuccessful, less than. I believed that my worth was measured by how much I could give, how much pain I could absorb, how silent I could stay in the face of injustice. Now I know better. Strength isn't measured by how much abuse you can take. It's measured by your ability to say no more and mean it. Success isn't about flashy cars and designer clothes bought with stolen money. It's about building a life of integrity that you can be proud of. Worth isn't determined by family hierarchies or parental favoritism. It's inherent and inviolable. Last week, I ran into an old family friend at the grocery store. She mentioned hearing about the drama at Emma's birthday dinner, clearly fishing for gossip. I simply said, "We're all in better places now," and changed the subject. The details of that night belong to those who lived it. Everyone else can wonder. Emma reached out recently, asking if we could meet for coffee. She's been in therapy for 5 months now, working through issues that go back to childhood. Her therapist suggested she attempt to make amends as part of her healing process, though she emphasized that I was under no obligation to participate in her journey. I thought about it for a long time, discussed it with Sarah and my therapist. Finally, I agreed, but with conditions. We would meet in a public place. Sarah would be present, and the conversation would be about moving forward, not relitigating the past. The meeting was awkward but not hostile. Emma looked different, humbled. The designer clothes were gone, replaced by simple, practical outfits. The heavy makeup that had masked her insecurities was lighter, more natural. She looked, for the first time in years, like herself. "I don't expect forgiveness," she said, echoing her letter. "I just wanted to tell you in person that I finally understand. Mom pitted us against each other from the beginning. You got Dad's love, so she gave me material things and told me it made me special. When the material things weren't enough, I had to take yours too. It was never about the money. It was about trying to fill a void that couldn't be filled. What do you want from me, Emma?" I asked directly. "Nothing," she replied, and for once, I believed her. "I just wanted you to know that I'm working on being different. Maybe someday, far in the future, we could have some kind of relationship, not as the people Mom tried to make us be, but as who we really are. But I understand if that's impossible." I told her I'd think about it, and I am. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting, and reconciliation doesn't mean returning to old patterns. But maybe, just maybe, two siblings who were weaponized against each other can find a way to lay down arms and simply coexist. The life lesson from all of this is complex but crucial. Family isn't an obligation to endure abuse, financial or otherwise. Blood relation doesn't grant anyone the right to exploit, manipulate, or diminish you. Sometimes the greatest act of love is refusing to enable toxic behavior, even when that refusal comes with significant cost. Standing up for yourself isn't selfish, it's necessary. When you allow yourself to be repeatedly victimized, you're not keeping the peace. You're enabling abuse, and that abuse never stays contained to just one person. It spreads, poisoning relationships, creating hierarchies of worth, turning family gatherings into battlegrounds. The money was never the real issue. It was what the money represented: power, control, worth, love. In healthy families, these things aren't transactional. Love isn't earned by paying bills. Worth isn't measured by bank balances. Power isn't gained by taking from others. Control isn't maintained through manipulation and lies. I think about that moment in the restaurant often. The weight of that bill in my hands, 20 pairs of eyes watching me, waiting to see if I'd once again sacrifice myself for the sake of false harmony. That moment when I chose differently, when I stood up with my phone instead of my wallet, was the moment I chose myself. Not in a selfish way, but in a necessary way. Every person reading this who has their own version of that restaurant moment, their own Emma and Margaret, their own pattern of exploitation disguised as family obligation, needs to know you deserve better. Your financial stability matters. Your emotional well-being matters. Your truth matters. Breaking free isn't easy. You'll be called selfish, dramatic, ungrateful. You'll be told that family doesn't keep score, even as others meticulously track what they can take from you. You'll be accused of destroying the family, when in reality, you're just refusing to be destroyed by it. But on the other side of that difficult choice is freedom. Real relationships built on mutual respect. Financial stability that isn't constantly undermined by others' expectations. The ability to be generous by choice rather than obligation. Peace that comes from knowing you're no longer participating in your own exploitation. The $1,890 bill that was meant to humiliate me became my invitation to freedom. Whatever your version of that bill is, whatever moment of exploitation you're facing, remember, you always have the option to stand up, pull out your metaphorical phone, and show everyone the truth. The resulting silence might be deafening, but it's in that silence that real change begins. My father said something recently that stays with me. Dorian, you didn't just save yourself. You saved all of us. Emma from continuing her crimes, Margaret from escalating her cruelty, me from my complicit silence, and the family from perpetuating toxic patterns. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is refuse to play your assigned role in a dysfunctional system. He was right. By refusing to pay that bill, by exposing the truth, by standing up for myself, I inadvertently stood up for everyone. Even Emma and Margaret, though they may never see it that way, were saved from themselves. The trajectory they were on would have led to even worse consequences eventually. My refusal to continue enabling them might have been the intervention they needed, whether they wanted it or not. Now, our family gatherings are smaller but healthier. The conversations are real rather than performed. The laughter is genuine rather than nervous. When someone needs help, it's offered freely and accepted gratefully, without hidden obligations or future manipulations. We've learned the difference between supporting each other and enabling each other, between family loyalty and blind compliance. To everyone reading this, here's my question. What bill is sitting in front of you right now, literal or metaphorical, that you're being pressured to pay unfairly? What family pattern are you perpetuating out of obligation rather than choice? What truth are you holding back to keep a false peace? Share your story in the comments below. You might find, as I did, that you're not alone in these struggles. Sometimes, the first step to freedom is simply admitting that something is wrong. If this story resonated with you, please like and subscribe to hear more real-life experiences about breaking toxic cycles and building healthier relationships. Share this with someone who might need to hear that it's okay to stand up for themselves, even when family is involved. Thank you for listening to my story. Remember, choosing yourself isn't selfish when the alternative is letting others choose to destroy you. You deserve relationships that build you up rather than bills that tear you down. Stay strong, set boundaries, and never apologize for protecting your peace and prosperity.